Well, welcome to another episode Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Mr. Fish Tank Man himself, Jason. Jason,
Hello.
how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and if you want, what you do professionally?
Yeah, okay. I'm 26 years old. I work in a hotel, family hotel, and one of my hobbies is obviously fish tank. I love marine fish.
I used to work at a hotel too. What do you do?
Everything basically. I'm sort of the manager, but I sort of help out every department: reception, bar, kitchen if I need.
I was a houseman, and let me tell you, they get treated like shit.
Well, yeah, I suppose big corporate things like that they do. We're more of a family-run sort of place, so we look after our staff.
When it comes to your type of guests, I always like asking this question because I think at least when you work at a hotel, you get to meet a wide variety of the public that you really, at least a different side to them, I would say. Who do you come across to as your worst customers? Come on now. For me, the weirdest ones were, I thought it was priests, only because they're the biggest alcoholics I've ever met in my entire life. The head priest, I cleaned out his room. There were 5 bottles of Jack Daniels. I think he had 2 that were halfway done in the fridge and a couple in the trash can. I was like, dude, you're suppressing them demons.
Yeah, I can't really say who's the worst. Everyone has their own little goods and bads things. You get people who complain about the most stupidest things, or you get people who are genuine. You tend to get a lot of couples at the weekend as well. They're sort of the people that tend to get drunk the most. Or even we do a lot of functions, so we always get the drunk idiots at the functions.
You ever get college kids like around in their 20s that come down? Like I live in a beach town, so that's surprisingly, that's a lot of our audience too. But the fact is, they're not as rude as you'd think. They just get drunk at like 3 o'clock in the morning. You go out into the hallway. There's like a bag of chips that's been busted open all over the floor. You're like, what the hell? It's like some dude tried to take a bag of Funyuns, put it up against the wall, then headbutt it to see if he could explode it. I'm like, what's going on, guys?
Yeah, people have done stupid things in the room. Biggest thing is always sick or fake tan. If you get the young people, especially girls, there's always fake tan everywhere. I don't know how much they use or how they got it everywhere, but yeah, it's a pain to clean.
I don't know how many times I came across bloody sheets at my hotel when the cheerleaders come down, the little 14-year-old, 15-year-old girls, dude. I know it sounds disgusting, but let me tell you something. It was like an everyday thing. They were some of the worst groups. There'd be glitter all in the hallway and shit. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like,
14-year-old.
Yeah, like you're going through like puberty or something. Next thing, or not
Okay,
puberty, but
right.
you get you know what I'm talking about. I don't think I need to go any
farther
on that one. Right. When it comes to have you ever came across anything like crazy, like somebody dying at your hotel? Like for me, I've had 3 experiences with that.
Yeah, we've had a few people die in the hotel. Quite often horrible, but they do tend to commit suicide, some of them as well. My partner, she also works here. She actually walked in on one, and the guy was pure blue, where he'd taken a load of pills and then suffocated himself with a bag. And she said it was horrible.
Yeah. I never came across anything like that. I went into a room, like stripping a room, taking all the sheets and all the trash out and stuff. And I went into this room, I think it was like 703 or 712 or something. And I was taking all the sheets out and everything. I got all the trash. I sat down, watched some TV. She had pizza on the counter. I'm not going to lie, grabbed a slice. I even took a poop. Never really mentioned that to anybody. And then I leave, and as I'm throwing away all the trash, a cop comes up to me and says, "Were you just in that room?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You just grabbed everything that could be used as evidence." And I said, "What?"
Yeah.
And he goes, because I'm shocked. I have no idea what's going on. Apparently, a girl had wrapped bed sheets around her neck and jumped off the balcony with it tied to the balcony. So, it sounds like a suicide, but they can't rule that out until they know for sure. It could be planned that way. It could be staged that way. But the cops saw how freaking out I was. Like, oh my God, dude. He saw on my face, I sat down, I was watching cartoons and shit. I remember it was the regular show. So that every time I see that show now, I'm like, oh my God, I always think of that moment.
Surely they would have blocked the room off so no one can go in there.
Apparently it literally just happened. I was one of the first people in that room besides them grabbing the girl and taking her off the balcony and stuff. They immediately rushed her down. They had an ambulance out front. We stay, we have an old style hotel. So we get a lot of elderly clients that come by during the winter. So I figured there's an ambulance out front. Probably some person called Life Alert. They fall and they couldn't get up. That's what I
Okay.
usually figured because it happens a lot. And then no, apparently it was a body that day. I was like, damn, I was not expecting that. Later I felt bad about it, but hey,
Yeah, no, it's one of the worst things you can find.
I hope I don't get to the pearly gates and some guys like, you remember when you ate that dead girl's pizza? I'm like, oh fuck, I knew this was gonna get me.
Yeah. Mm.
Well, what exactly, like going from the hotel side of things, like where does it come into the aspect of like the fish tanks and stuff?
Um, yeah, so like I said, it's a family hotel. So my grandparents, they sort of own it. They've always kept fish tanks all their life, as far as I can remember. Only fresh water, and that's how they sort of got my granddad sort of got me into them. Basically, started out with like goldfish and things like that. Worked my way up, then eventually started marine. And to be honest, marine's so much better than fresh water.
It's a lot more complicated too when it comes to keeping that tank clean. I've had a few fish experience, but I want to ask you, what's your very first one? Like, what's the first fish you ever got? Everybody's got a memory of like getting their first goldfish, whether it was me, I had like the carnival, obviously, you're tossing little whatever balls
Oh yeah,
into
yeah, okay.
the bowls and you get a couple goldfish home. They die the next day. You flush them down the toilet or whatever. And then I saw that show. You ever seen Codename Kids Next Door? I think it's called.
Yeah, I can't remember. I know the TV show. Yeah.
They were tricking the people by teaching the fish how to fake die. So then they would get flushed down the drain and the dude would pick them up in the sewer or something. Dude, I kept that fish dead in that bowl for 3 days after I saw that. I was like, you're fucking faking it. You're fucking faking it. My mom's like, nah, he's dead. I'm like, nah.
Yeah, no, I mean, tetras. I remember having a tetra in like a small little kiddie tank thing, and then it was only one tetra, and it just vanished. There was nothing in there, no plants. It was just gravel, and it just went. I couldn't find it anywhere. Don't know where the hell it went. That was probably my first fish.
When it comes to like just the overall like kind of I guess feeling you get from at least having your own tank and at least diving off into this in yourself, like would you say this is a kind of like a nostalgia thing for you? Because like I built a pond, I think 2-3 years ago, a koi pond. Me and my buddy, we spent, you know, we took shovels, we took all this stuff, and we built this giant pond in his backyard. And nobody told me that you're not supposed to put chlorine in there. I thought that would help with making the
Oh yeah.
water clear. So we murdered our first batch of fish, but it was this long process of building this pond, and everything went wrong. But I mean, we got so much of a benefit from it when it was all done. Our koi fish, actually, we didn't know the water froze, and we
Okay.
thought they died. So we're like, oh, we're going to have to get new ones. No, they hibernated at the bottom.
Wow.
So
Okay.
we spent, I think, $8 per koi fish. We had about 4 of them. And then we spent, I think I tossed in like $10 and I bought a bunch of feeder fish, the really small ones. They
Yeah.
grew huge, man. And we just sat there and like enjoyed, this little pond. I mean, it was a good feeling. I fed them cereal, Honey Smacks every day.
I bet they got fat then.
They were nice, dude.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's always that great feeling when I mean, marine tank especially. It's so hard to just get it up and running. You have to wait until the water cycled, then you have to put things in at different stages. But once it's all done, it is an amazing feeling. Once you see everything living.
What's your favorite type of fish?
It's probably it's a yellow tang or yellow surgeonfish. It's in there somewhere, the yellow one. It's
What
really, I love them because they're bright yellow, but they've got this like scalp at the end of their tail.
What have you learned about fish, like just from collecting them or even just diving into this project? Like I figured out that you can't mix obviously certain types of fish, but obviously never trust anybody that works at fucking Petco,
Yeah.
because the woman told me, she's like, these are bala sharks. As long as you don't have any other types of aggressors in your tank, they'll be fine. I'm like, I have nothing but goldfish in my tank. I got these fantails, the big ones with the giant tumor-sized heads. I'm
Yeah.
like, I got these guys in there. She's like, oh, they'll be fine. Next day, dude, all their fins are all ripped off. They're at the bottom just rolling around. I'm like, are they dead? And I had to sit there and literally, this is one of the coolest things I have done with this pond is the fact these koi fish, I call them like the protectors of the pond. So what would happen was these goldfish, like we had a black moor, the ones with it looks like a mini hammerhead. Its eyes are all popped out off on the
Yeah.
side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, he got all of his fins ripped off from these little bala sharks. So I took all these bala sharks out and I threw them. I was like, fuck it. You're all dying. Screw you. You guys are assholes. I love these goldfish, especially my goldfish. Don't fuck with my goldfish, either the food or the actual fish. I love them both. But
Yeah.
this fish had no fins left and was just rolling at the bottom. So every time we'd feed them, he wouldn't be able to get anything. And I had a gold koi fish, and I swear to you, this gold koi fish went under this black moor and went up to the surface, basically lifted him up and helped him get food.
Wow.
And I mean, he did that
Okay.
for I don't know how long until he finally grew fins back. That little black goldfish grew its fins back. It took a long time, but it fucking happened, dude. I thought we were gonna have to I was gonna put him out of his misery. But I mean, after a while, like he's still alive. It's been days, so he's obviously eating. And then we came out one day and this goldfish was, I mean, his koi fish was just lifting this goldfish up. I'm like, now that's a bro. That is a bro.
That's best friends for life. Should have recorded that. That's really
I think my
wow.
buddy still has the video on his phone. For me, I'm just like, it's at his house. So I was like, hey, let's build a koi pond. He's like, sounds like fun. And then I built this koi pond and then he had to deal with taking care of it and shit.
Oh, so you just help with the labor, then
I
it's
would
his
just come by and
responsibility
be like,
after.
I would just come by and sit down and be like, I like enjoying the koi pond. He's like, yeah, it's at my house. You know how much cleaning I have to do for this thing? He goes, we bought a pond filter. You think that gets cleaned? It does by
Yeah.
me every day. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big benefits about marine tanks is that as long as you buy the right stuff, it cleans itself in a way. I mean, you've got so many different invertebrates like crabs, shrimp, even the fish. They clean the tank for you. So it's hard to get it started, but once it's going, it is an easy thing to take care of, basically.
I think for me, I never truly like, I mean, I've always had fish tanks. A few years ago, I had one, but it was just so hard because like getting the filters, getting the proper stuff to make sure the tank stays clean. Like your tank in the back is like so crystal blue. Like it's something you would see at like a pet store or something where they constantly are getting paid to take care of the thing. For me, I'm just like, I start noticing the water gets a little bit mucky. I can change the water out, but it takes a lot of time and care just to be able to create something like that, especially if you got a lot of fish in the tank. Obviously, if you have a smaller amount in there, it's not going to get as dirty as quickly. Like I always thought like, oh, I'll just grab a couple of those catfish or those the filter feeders, the ones that just suck up
Yeah,
all the algae and stuff. Well, that doesn't work all the time. Like the plankos or the placos, I think they're called.
plecos. Yeah,
Yeah, that was my
yeah.
favorite
No,
thing. I dropped like $5 and get like at least a couple of those things just to watch them suck on the glass.
yeah. That's the kind of fish my granddad loves with his fish tanks. He loves just watching the plecos in the glass, just eating everything.
They grow huge though too. They're like they can grow
Yeah,
like 8 inches or something if you try hard enough.
I think in his biggest tank, he's got I think something like a 10-foot tank. I think one of his is about probably that big, just a
Yeah,
pleco. It's freaking huge,
I know. You can
and
just
they're
toss.
fat as well.
I love what you can feed them too. You just toss them in like one of those algae wafers or something. They just sit there and
Yeah,
suck all over it. Like, holy shit, this is awesome. I'm like, yeah, I'm basically making my tank dirty by tossing that in there, but you eat it pretty quick.
yeah. Luckily, I mean, he's got so much fish in that tank. The tank sort of stays dirty-ish, so he's got enough food anyway. Don't have to
Now,
feed him.
when it comes to probably one of the worst fish that like one that you really don't like, which is it?
Um, I mean, to be honest, I don't really like freshwater, but if you're talking about marine, it would be probably yellow wrasse. I've had them in the past. They're really, how do you say it? They get really scared so easy, basically. So if you slam a door, they'll jump out the water.
It's a
So
freaking
you're,
minnow.
no, you little yellow wrasse. It
Yeah, I
looks like a
know.
minnow, but it's
But
bright yellow.
they're like minnows when it comes to like being scared. Like I swear to God, I had
Yeah.
minnows at one point. I would just stare at the glass or something. They would all be freaking out and hiding everywhere. I'm like, well, what's the point of having fish if I never get to see you guys?
Yeah, I learned the hard way with that one. I didn't have like you normally put a top on your tank, like a mesh top, but I didn't. A couple of times I found them on the floor jumping around, and then obviously eventually died. Yeah,
Did you have any like specific fish that when they died you were like hurt by it? Like you were like you kind of broken up about it? I mean, for me, I had a beta fish that I mean, me and my brother had one. My brother's died after like a year and a half, and they're not supposed to live long. I think that pet shop lady was like, they'll live like 2 years or something. Mine lived
yeah.
like 4 or 5 years. I called him Venom, and yeah, the Spider-Man movie. I was a kid when this happened, so bear with me. And
Okay.
I had him for like 5 years. My mom's like, wow, this is like the best fish ever. Like he lasted forever. When he died, I was broken up. Like I was like, we're not flushing him down the toilet. We're taking him out back. I'm burying him. And like, we're going to have a funeral service. We're going to go all out on it. And I want everybody to write a speech and say some nice fucking words.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't think it's that sort of situation where your mums just keep replacing the fish every time it dies?
Don't say that.
So,
Oh, I got some talking to somebody when they get home.
yeah.
Man, that
Never
was
thought that.
crazy. If that's what they did, then getting the same fish looks exactly like that over and over again. I could see that with the hamster. It's like, why does he keep
Yeah.
changing colors? He's molting. He's molting.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. No, there was one fish. It was another, like you're saying, at Petco, one of those incidents. We don't have Petco here, but we just have sort of local fish shops. But I bought something called a flame angel. And it's like a dwarf angel. It's an angel fish. But I already had a coral beauty angel fish in the tank, and I asked him, will they go together? And obviously he said they should, that's fine. And it was a probably 40, 50 pound fish, so it wasn't cheap. And when I put it in, probably not even an hour, they started fighting each other and it died. It more hurt me because of the cost of the fish, but it just peed me off really that you go fish shops, they're meant to know what to say, what to sell you, but they just don't know anything
Yeah, they're
sometimes.
just people working there that just say, I mean, just because you're wearing a Petco uniform doesn't mean you know anything about anything that you're selling. You know, they got the
Yeah.
information tabs on the front of the tank, but that doesn't mean they understand everything. I mean, when I was doing this fish pond with my buddy, it's probably my junior to senior year. Both those years, I had this class called alternative education. Yes, it's for the bad kids, where the bad kids would go. But for me, my school ended up forgetting about giving me math classes. So they're like, let's just shove him in this class and we'll call it Bridges Credit Recovery, which is like, you show up, you get an A. So
Okay.
my teacher, me and him would just watch The Talking Dead or something, but he would just be like, you want to take a walk, Rob? And I'm like, dude, I've walked around this school 10 times already. I really don't feel like, going anywhere. Can I just sit on my phone? He's like, sure. So he just let me sit on my phone the whole time. Like, a kid would be like, well, if he's on his phone, I'm going to be on my phone. They pull out their phone and he'd be like, no, only Rob, because he's not here because he's not an asshole like you guys. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I like this. I like this.
Favoritism.
But I would be on my phone and I would be researching as much as I possibly can about fish tanks and how to build a pond. And obviously, since we're doing a pond, we did freshwater. So from going to different pet stores, finding out, oh, there's one in Salisbury that's about an hour away. What fish can I get there? Okay, what types of fish? Can they work with this type of fish? What do they eat? What do they need temperature-wise? And trying to find the similarities between them all. And I would walk into Petco and I'd be like, I need this type of fish, this type of fish. Well, we don't have him, but we have something similar. I'm like, that's not fucking similar at all.
Yeah.
There's different temperatures. You're going to end up, I'm going to throw this fish in there. It's going to go retarded because it's going to get shock. I mean, that's just what happens. If you have a tank that's super, super cold or a tank that's super, super hot, the fish goes in there. They have a temperature they like. They're going to freak out if it's not going to be fit for them. Yet that's why you have to put them in a bag, and then you have to set them in the water and let them adjust to the climate of the water.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't really I don't go there anymore asking for advice. So I always do things on the internet or books. And I never look on one site. I always look on like different multiple sites because each site, again, has their own view on each fish. So
I feel like people choose freshwater because it's 1,000 times easier than dealing with a saltwater tank. It seems like the saltwater is a little bit more expensive, but there's a better payoff.
yeah, I mean, that's probably more the expensive side of it. I mean, the equipment alone is, if you want decent equipment, you're looking at a few $100 or pounds, whatever. But I mean, as long as you keep up with the sort of the water changes like you do with the fresh water, it's no different.
Now,
It's just more time.
with the fascination that comes with fish, now, do you ever go diving? Do you ever try and scuba dive and see these things? And
Yeah, I've got a license, so I'll go around the world scuba dive as
what's
much as I can, basically.
what's one of your favorite moments scuba diving?
It was actually last year, February. I went Florida, and then we went on a cruise around the Caribbean, and we stopped off in Honduras. So I did a few scuba diving in Honduras, and it was so annoying because it was the one day I didn't have my GoPro with me, and as we were diving, lo and behold, there's two giant sea turtles there, like standing on the edge of a rock cliff. So you've got this just like pure blue black background to them, and then coral all in front of them. And I got so close to them, like I am with the sort of the camera now, but I just didn't have anything to take any photos or videos and nothing. But yeah, that was probably one of the best I've had.
I went to Hawaii a few years ago, and I went my very first time going. I was probably maybe 15 years old. Then the second time I went, I was probably 17, 18. And the first time I went was completely different from the next time I went because we went to Hanama Bay Fish Reserve, which is in like
Okay.
Honolulu. So it's literally a national fish reserve that has all these, like, I mean, fish are literally right there. Like, it's just, I mean, beautiful. All these different colors. I saw the state fish of Hawaii there. Um, I sea turtles were all over. I had my GoPro, just like you wish you did. But
Yeah.
when I was using my GoPro, I was getting so close. We were feeding them. I actually have pictures on my actual Instagram where I'm feeding a piece of kelp to one of these sea turtles, and he would go up and bite it. Amazing
Wow.
experience. You can sit there and touch them. They don't care. Um, One of the things we noticed was when they said that you have to take an instructional video when you're at Hanama Bay. It's basically like telling you all about the coral, what the coral means to the fish, and how it's like you don't want to stand on it, you don't want to touch it, because if you do
Yeah.
that, it can break off the coral and kill it. So we started noticing a lot of the tourists there were standing on the coral, taking pictures. And then when I came back a few years later, there were less fish. The coral was farther out. You had to swim way farther out than you did before to go see these fish. It's been a few years now since I last went, so I'm thinking that a lot of it's probably really, really destroyed, and it really sucks because the amazing things we saw. I mean, my
Yeah.
cousin lives down there, and he's not too happy about going and looking for fish, only because he goes surfing a lot, and he's always covered in man of wars, which I don't think a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
people know what they are. But my cousin's like, no, brother, I ain't going out into that water. I ain't going out into that water. That's what he sounds like. I'm like, what the? Are you Jamaican? He's like, nah, it's pigeon cuz. I'm like, okay, okay.
Yeah. I know. When we were in Florida, where Miami Beach, there were everywhere man of wars all along the beach, and it's surprising no one stood on them. They were literally up the beach. They weren't in the water. They were everywhere on the beach.
I don't think people understand the difference between a man of war and a jellyfish. They're like, oh,
No.
it's just probably like a jellyfish thing. No, no, it's
No.
nothing like that. It's like 10 times worse, and it goes like all day. It's not some quick, let me pee on it and then get it solved. This is like, no, you're going to
No.
be thriving until it's off you.
You ever been stung by one or a
I've
jellyfish
never
or?
been stung by one, but what I've heard
No.
from my cousin, it's not
Okay.
something I want to put in my book.
Okay. I'll tell yeah, all right. I like to go. Hawaii sounds like a really nice place to scuba dive. But yeah, I know from the fish trade because a lot of the fish they can't be bred, so they do capture them from the reef as long as it's sort of sustainable. But Hawaii, they've actually shut off all fish trade from there now. So obviously they're really cracking down on protection over there. But
Well, I
yeah, I
mean,
know
you
people.
have to. You know how many people come
Yeah,
over to that island and just treat it like shit? I
yeah,
mean, it's to them, everybody else, it's a vacation. That's why a lot of the Polynesian people are very, very aggressive when it comes to a lot of the tourists that come over. It's the same thing here in my town. I mean, I live in a beach town, but when we get people that come from out of town, they treat this place like garbage, dude. They just throw stuff around, beer bottles everywhere, polluting in our sand, like, leaving cigarettes everywhere. It's like, damn, dude, it's like I
yeah,
live here. You're literally throwing your trash into my home.
yeah. It's a bit like the hotel sometimes. People coming to stay here, but they don't realize this is someone's sort of livelihood. This is someone's money, their property. They just don't. They treat it like shit sometimes.
It's because
But
it's
yeah,
all under the guise of a vacation. Am I right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, unless they actually, I suppose, I don't say you can teach them like with those instructional videos about the coral and things like that, but they're never going to listen. They're just there for photos, videos, good time.
Yeah, it's just, I
So
mean, it's heartbreaking too because, like, honestly, the only thing I would see as a benefit from, the coral, do whatever, and less fish is just the aspect of you're really going to have to go out there and search for these things now. Like, if you really need to go and you want to take pictures, you want to do all this sightseeing, you have to be committed to, like, I really want to do this. And I think that's what
yeah,
is needed out there too, because, like, why are you going to go try and understand these creatures without having a respect for them too? Like, the one thing I fucking hated was there's a thing called the wall in Hawaii. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. I
no,
don't really know the specific name for it, but it's on Honolulu. And it's like your one of your desktop screensavers is this. It's like a long walkout with like a little, it looks like a pavilion at the end, and it's right over the water. Well, at the end of that you can jump, and there's coral right there. People think that, like, oh, it's probably way down deep. No, the water's about maybe 10 feet deep, but the coral is about 5 feet up off the floor. So if you jump, you're going to hit the coral. So
Yeah.
what my cousin was doing, he's like, I'm going to jump, cuz. I'm like, jump, you're going to break your legs, man. And this is the first time I went, so I was only 15, so I was like scared as shit. I'm like, dude, I'm not jumping. We're on this wall is about 20 feet up from the water that's 10 feet up from the floor. I'm like, I can't do this. And he goes, dude, just catch the wave perfectly. I'm like, I
Okay.
can't even fucking do addition correctly. You want me to count the wave perfectly? And he goes, watch this, cuz. He goes, on the count of 3, ready? He's like, all right, so we're gonna do it together. So we're like side by side. He's like, ready? 1, 2, 3. He runs, I run, I stop right before I'm about to jump. My cousin just goes, I'm like, oh my God, my cousin's fucking dead. I'm like, oh shit, he's gone forever. And my brother's standing behind me, like, I knew you wouldn't jump. And my cousin hits the water perfectly, just makes he goes, you didn't jump, cuz. I'm like, why would I jump? Are you nuts? So that was the first trip. A few years later, I made a commitment when I was flying back on that airplane, headed to a Honolulu again. I said, I'm going to make sure I fucking jump this time. My brother goes, you're going to bail out like you did before. I said, really? First thing we get off the plane, go to the hotel room. We walk right to the beach afterwards. I said, watch this. I just literally I'm walking towards the thing, shirt coming off. I mean, it's been 2 years, 3 years now. So I'm like, fuck it. I just ran and jumped. Didn't even think about catching a wave, timing, didn't do any of that. Just did it. As soon as I hit the water, I just stuck my fucking feet up, like trying to go in ass first or something. And I
Yeah.
just touched that coral, dude. But I swear to God, I never felt so happy. I was like, I freaking did it. Then I swam back to the beach and I looked up at my brother. He didn't see anything. He was talking to some chick. I was like, are you shitting me? He goes, oh, good job. You jumped. You finally did it. I was like, 3 years I've been marinating on that shit, thinking I was going to impress you by doing it. And you're telling me you didn't give a shit? And he goes, no, I really don't care. You should have did it the first time. I'm like,
At least you got the satisfaction of knowing you did it now then.
you don't know what it's like to want to kill somebody until that moment.
Okay. Ugh.
I
Yeah.
think it's those experiences though too. But I mean, like even with beautiful things like having an experience like mine, or even just like enjoying nature in its purest element. I mean, the one
Yeah.
thing I always saw that kind of scared me about the whole scuba diving or looking for fish was the eels. I didn't like a whole lot of that. To get to the wall. And also, like once you're in the water to get back to the shore, you have to go over this coral, and the tide is basically what saves you from getting hit by the coral. I mean, I remember it was probably an inch between my stomach and the coral when I was swimming, and there were
Yeah. Okay.
urchins and everything in there. So as the tide went back, you had to time it perfectly and swim with the tide all the way up, or with one of the waves all the way up to get just above this hump that's in the coral. And you would see these eels come out, fucking stare at you with that blank look on their face, and then snap, and you're like, I don't want to get anywhere near that thing.
Yeah, I mean, eels are quite nice. I'd love it. I love to have a moray eel. You can get them for tanks like snowflakes, or there's things like ribbon eels, or the worst one is a dragon eel. It's got really big teeth, a dragon eel. But yeah, I love seeing them in the ocean on scuba dive. I try, when I go scuba diving, I sort of try to find companies that go out of the touristy areas. At least then you've got really good views of all the animals and things that haven't been disturbed by people. And obviously that the people you're with, they trust you, and you're smart enough not to damage anything or interact with anything. So that's why it's always nice to go like that. And in those sort of places, that's where you see things like the turtles or moray eels. Or the same dive with the sea turtles, I actually saw a moray eel swimming. So it wasn't actually in the cave, it was actually just swimming along the sort of like a cliff edge. It was really just mesmerizing to see it waving side to side.
I feel like if I sat there and stared at it for too long, it's like a stare down where it's like, who's gonna blink first?
Yeah,
And
you ever see? There's a video online. I don't know if you've ever seen it, of a moray eel. I don't know if it's Hawaii actually. They feed it like hot dogs. But
oh,
then
what
one
is wrong
day,
with people, man?
yeah. But then one
That's
day, someone goes there and they accidentally stick their thumb out, and you can't see it, but you can hear the of his thumb popping off when the moray eel grabs it.
dude,
It's crazy.
see, my cousin goes, they won't bite you, and that because I kept telling him I'm so afraid that the tide's gonna go down and this thing's gonna see my like pecker, bite it. And he goes, it's not gonna happen, cuz they're not gonna attack you. They're peaceful, loving creatures. I'm like, that's a load of crap. Like I've seen 50 First Dates or whatever where the guy's like, You got another shark bite. And he's like, sharks are like dogs. They only bite when you touch their private parts. I'm like,
Uh,
they're meant to do that. They don't know any better. It's like they're having a little dog.
Rob Schneider's so funny. I love that movie.
See
But yeah,
that
no,
that one, and then there's a new one that just came out with him called Missy, I think. And
I've never seen
he's
it.
he's a diving or shark instructor. They're taking these people out on a trip to go in a shark cage and basically bond with each other. And he's got his hand like this. The rest of his fingers are gone, so he looks like he's saying "hang loose." So he's only got his pinky and his thumb, and he's grabbing stuff like this. And they're like, "How did you get that with your hand?" And he's just like, and then gives him like the shaka bra, and then walks away. I'm like, oh my god,
Oh no.
you
Yeah,
can
but no,
do it.
you can do it, Nikki. Oh, that movie's amazing. But yeah, no, but I mean, as long as you don't sort of seem like you're a danger to anything, nothing will endanger you, basically. Same with Morios. You can go up close to them. As long as you're not looking like you're a predator or anything, they won't do anything.
What's one that you've been trying to get into your tank that you haven't gotten yet? Like I would immediately assume lobsters, just because like we had those in
Oh, no.
grocery stores at one point, and then now it's like we don't have any in the like that was the fucking zoo when you were a kid. Like, let's go to the grocery
Yeah.
store and go stare at the lobsters. And now it's like, no, we don't have those anymore because it's animal cruelty. I'm like, well, what's the point?
I know, it's weird. I mean, if to be honest, if I had any lobsters in that tank, I'm pretty sure my girlfriend would try and fish it out and cook it anyway. So it's our favorite food, lobster.
That's a freaking game at one of the restaurants down here in my town. They have a claw machine and they have crabs inside of the thing, and you have to pick your own crabs out. I'm like, this is freaking animal
Wow.
cruelty if I've ever seen in my entire life. They're like, no, you get to catch your own dinner. I'm like, that still, it does not make it any better. Like, well, we're
Yeah.
saving you the trouble of going out into the bay and crabbing yourself, because that's a big thing here in Maryland is crabs. I mean, Maryland crabs, crab feast, everything like that. It's a giant seafood town. I mean, I know people that go out on boats try and catch them all day, but there's like a I would call it a social distancing rule. You have to have at least a crab that's above 6 inches or something.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah, then if not, you have to throw it back. And that's actually what I wanted to do for a while, because I was so passionate about these fish and these creatures in our bay. I mean, I worked so closely with them for so long. I did jet skis for like 4 years. So I had come across a hammerhead that was right beside my
Wow.
jet ski one time. That was really fucking scary. Um, it was mostly because like our bay is so shallow that where sharks like to go to have their babies is in shallow water. So they would sneak into our bay. So we would have people that would track these sharks. Um, and I didn't know, but there was a hammerhead in our riding area, and I see this giant boat like with a bunch of people on it, and they're all pointing and taking pictures, and I'm on my jet ski shirtless, so I'm like, oh, they're checking out my muscles. So I'm like flexing and doing like the you see my calves, ladies.
Yeah.
And then I just see this giant hammerhead right beside my jet ski, and I lost my shit. I jumped up, I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And then I hear on the radio, my boss just say, don't let anybody that's on a jet ski fall into the water, because there's a hammerhead trying to have its babies right now. So we need just to get them back safely. I'm like, you're telling me to tell people not to fall off a jet ski when everybody's chasing each other and doing all this type of stuff? Like, that's like trying to take a
Yeah.
kid to a candy store and tell them not to buy anything.
Yeah. Shark. I've never seen a shark really in the sort of ocean. It's on my bucket list. I really love to, but never had a chance.
Aren't
I
you
love to go.
Well, aren't you
Huh?
afraid though? Like, I mean, have you seen Jaws? Like for me, I look at a
Oh, come
shark,
on.
I've seen them so many times. I'm like, the one thing that scares me is their eyes, because there's just nothing there. There's no like white of it. There's no pupil. It's just one giant black hole. You're like, you're completely dead inside.
Yeah. I mean, probably saying it now, it doesn't. But if it was actually in the situation, I'd probably scared shitless, to be honest. But yeah, no, it's. I'd love to swim with them. I think they're probably one of the most beautiful things in the world. Sharks. That's my favorite, anyway.
What
Um,
type of shark?
Hammerhead's probably up there, just because they're different than usual.
I thought,
Probably
I
tiger shark.
thought you were talking about like the most beautiful shark would be the ones with like the really goofy teeth that look like they swallowed like a mouthful of nails.
Sandtooth tigers. Yeah, they're from Africa.
They have freaking
One,
tops that go down
yeah,
and the bottom goes right through them. I'm like, yo, somebody, you ate a jawbreaker or something.
Yeah, they're really clever. They are. You'll see them. They normally swim so slow. You see them in aquariums and things like that. They seem so freaking lazy. But what they do is they actually swim inside a school, and they spend hours just swimming so slowly in a school of fish, to the point where the fish sort of trust them a little, and that's when out of nowhere they'll just snap one of them.
Fish are friends, not
Not food.
food.
Yeah, I'm not actually. I don't eat any fish actually, but that's not because of that. It's because I just don't like the taste.
That's probably everything I eat is probably fish related. I'll eat anything that comes out of the sea. I
Mm.
don't think I've come across anything that is really bad, I would say. At least
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of like, I don't know, a lot of fried foods, but like calamari is pretty freaking good. I thought that would always be a cool one to get to, like for a fish tank, would be like a little tiny octopus or something. I mean, the
Mm.
fact that those giant things can fit into like a bottle. I mean, something so crazy where you're like, how the hell does all that fit into this?
yeah. They're You have to have a very very good tank. It has to be sort of like a specialized tank. There can't be any holes or anything like that for the filters. The top has to be sealed. But there's a I think aquarium somewhere in I think Singapore or something like that. They've got an octopus tank, but it's an open top tank. And obviously, if you've ever sort of know about octopus in tanks, they can actually walk on land basically. But what they've done, they've put fake grass around the top of the tank. So when the octopus feels around, it feels like it's touching grass or ground, so it won't actually go anywhere. So it stays in the tank. It's a really clever idea.
That's really smart.
Hmm.
I'm thinking
Otherwise,
of
you just have to cover the top.
I immediately started thinking like a you ever been to a rainforest cafe where they have the aquariums or tanks everywhere, like while you're eating in the restaurant? I just immediately picture somebody like, let me get a porterhouse, and a steak drops on the table, then a fucking octopus just drops on his head from crawling out of the tank.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious. Man.
I talk about you know, when you talk about the fish that would jump out and have that cage or have that net on top of the tank so they can't jump out, I discovered that not with my fish, but with hermit crabs. We had
Okay.
a little palm tree type decoration that was tall enough to reach to the top of the glass tank that we had in. It was like a 20-gallon fish tank, and one of them climbed up the little fucking palm tree and then just hopped out, and we lost him for like 3 weeks in our house. We ended up finding him like behind a cabinet, like next to some like old like Stouffer's crackers or something. I'm like, how the fuck did he get back here? Like he crawled
Wow.
all the way, like I mean, from our whole length of our house, which was like, I mean, a good amount, all the way from like my brother's room to the kitchen. I'm like, holy crap, this thing made it a journey and it died. And he goes, that was my favorite one. I'm like, yeah, well, he's a badass. He freaking played the
Knew where the
smallest
food
violin
was.
for him. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Luckily, I haven't got any of those in there. Nothing in that tank really jumps out or anything like that.
Have,
Um,
well, I was about to say, have you ever thought about maybe trying to discover a little bit more about marine biology or try and chase down this road a little farther?
yeah, I mean, that's growing up in school. That's sort of what I wanted to aim for, was either that or something like paleontology, because I just love anything like that. But I was a lazy sod in school. It's always that situation as you grow up and become an adult. You always wish you did better in school.
I still am okay with what I did in school, F's and D's, only because I think the education system gave me such a shit run. It was more like, oh, it's your senior year and you still have to take 5 math classes. It's like, well, how the fuck are we going to do that? It's like, we're just going to put you in Bridges credit recovery and then we'll just give you the diploma. And then when I got to college, it was like, oh, this is when I should take it seriously. It's a lot more fun in college. I feel like also because you can just roll up to school with freaking Arby's, like, just sit down in
Okay.
class and be like, I just, I went to lunch or I went to breakfast and got this, you know what I mean? I think that freedom aspect to it really helped me focus in like, oh, wait a minute. They don't care if I'm here or not. I'm here for myself. I need to I'm basically paying to go. So it's like, let's try and get that education in.
Yeah, I mean, we're a little bit different over here. We don't have that sort of freedom. I mean, from since you first start school all the way till you're about 17, 18, you have to wear uniform. That's what really annoyed me, because I hated uniform. And there's all sort of aspects like that. It's just I just couldn't concentrate in school.
I have the
It really
biggest
peed me
question when
off.
it comes to your uniform.
Go on then.
Was it easy to shit
Yeah, it's just like trousers, shirt, and a blazer. That's the basis of it, and
Did
a
you have to
tie.
wear a belt?
We didn't have to wear a belt, but
Okay. That's
uh,
the see. I work at a security job, so it's relatively. I've only been there a couple months before COVID and all that. So like, I had a belt, I had to tuck in the shirt. They constantly keep going, Rob, why is your shirt always untucked? I'm like, I'm not trying to take a shit, man. You know how difficult it is to be able to go to the bathroom. You got to untuck everything and freaking rip your trousers down. That's like the biggest thing. I want convenience. So I'm thinking about ordering the Japanese underwear that have like the zipper in the back to where you just let it go.
yeah,
Welcome to
yeah,
my
no, that
podcast called Out of the Blank. It gets random at times.
it really does. Japanese underwear, cool. Yeah, no, that like things like that. Yeah, you always have to. They make sure your tie was done. You always have to tuck your shirt in. You weren't allowed to take your blazer off. It's so stupid, especially in the summer. It's things like that. It just freaking annoyed me.
I
But
think
now
that,
thinking about it, you wish you concentrated more to get to that sort of stage where you can go university or college.
yeah, I think it's just a different mindset of it too. Like the classes you get to learn, like, you know how easy it would have been just to maybe like ask you as like a kid, like, what do you want to learn? And like
Yeah,
listen to obviously your couple of ridiculous answers. Like, I want to learn how to shoot lasers for my eyes, like, but more like, what are you super interested in? See that you're reading a fish book or something and be like, let's toss them into some more marine biology classes. I had a few of
yeah,
those.
exactly.
But even my buddies that are went and got their degrees in marine biology and are trying to do conservationist type work, they're just like, it's not taught enough. Like, it's introduced to us, but then we have to go pursue it ourselves. I'm like, I want more classes that are going to educate me for something I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And I feel like that's
Yeah,
like with a lot of classes, school kind of teaches you the basics and then they just keep shoving the basics in your face. It's like, when can we get to the stuff that's like a part of us, where if I told you there's a fish class available and then there's a gym class available, you're going to want to go to the fish class. You're going to want to
yeah,
learn as
exactly.
much as you possibly can about it.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the whole means of trying to teach you the basics, things like history. I mean, history is interesting to me, but it's nothing I'd want to go into the future. So surely there should come a point where they just stop it, and I decide, look, I want to do marine biology. In order to get into marine biology in university here, you have to get a certain grade in. I think it's biology, chemistry, and then something else of your choice. That's like towards the end of your school years when you're going to university. But why couldn't you concentrate that longer than just the last 1 or 2 years?
When can I learn about leather making? If you drop
Yeah,
that on a teacher, they're like, what did you just say? I want to learn how to shuck corn, or I want to learn how to sew. They're like, are you sure? I'm like, yes. I remember for art class, we had to do the tapestries where you had to knit something. Yo, that
okay,
was the hardest shit I have ever done in my entire life. You had to put the thread through the needle, like a little circular hole, and you had to
yeah.
tie it off, and then you had to sit there and weave in and out, weave in and out, weave in and out. It was badass when it was done, but like, oh my God, the amount of time that takes in there. I'm like, no wonder people are old and doing it. It takes freaking 30 years to be able to get anything going for yourself.
Yeah, luckily I never had to do that, so I've never had the pleasure.
So what's the eventual goal here? You ever thought about maybe trying to join something like a conservation, or maybe something that would help educate people more about fish? I feel like that's definitely needed, with the fact that people always relate to, like, what I was going to do a second ago by saying, why don't you try SeaWorld? It's like, but that place is so evil.
Yeah, I mean, even aquariums, even though they're trying to sort of educate you on sort of the conservation side of things, it's still a bit wrong for certain species to be in things like that. Like I know Georgia Aquarium on your side has the big whale shark tanks, but
Wait, which aquarium?
Georgia Aquarium, Atlanta.
Oh, I'm way far from Atlanta.
Okay, you never heard of it then? The
No.
Georgia, the
I
whale
didn't even know you
sharks.
could put a whale in a tank besides Shamu and the little thing where he ends up eating somebody's legs.
No, they're not. They're not whales. They're sharks. They're called whale sharks because they are ginormous, basically.
They're the ones that have like a vacuum mouth where it's like suck up krill or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I
So,
played the
so
video game Jaws and I would murder them because they were so huge, but they never fought me.
yeah, no, yeah, yeah. They've got two of them in the tanks, and it's just going to get to a point where they're too big to be in the tank. but they were shipped all the way over from Japan, I think. So what are you going to do? Ship it all the way back to Japan? Or are you just going to let it die in the tank? I don't understand that. Things like this is a little bit different because they're small fish. Most of them are bred in captivity, so they're not taken out of the oceans, the ones I've got anyway.
How do you
But
feel
yeah,
about that being contained? How do you think about that? Like when it comes to like certain fish, do you think only some should be contained, like the smaller ones for amusement or kind of for us to learn more about? Or do you think all of them should kind of be open and free?
I mean, it's always better when things are open and free, even zoos and things like that. I personally, the fish I buy, I know for a fact they are easy to breed in captivity. So I know that they haven't been taken from the ocean. So you're not changing anything in the ocean at that point. Even the coral, for example, corals are so easy to breed. All you have to do is literally cut them and stick them to a rock and they grow a brand new coral. So most corals are cultivated in your garage or in shops now. So they're not taken out of the ocean. But like I said, if it's sort of bigger species like the whale sharks or dolphins or things like that, it's not. I don't personally think it's right.
Yeah, I look at it like some of these fish, like the ones you have in your tank, for instance, taking those out of the ocean, I don't see any giant difference or any shift in the climate from doing something like that. Honestly, I think they're happier in there just because they have an area that's comfortable for them to work around as well too. It's not like they're being confined to a small glass bowl. I mean, it's wide open.
Yeah, of
I think
course.
that's why the regulations for fish tanks and fish are pretty huge. Like each fish should have like 10 gallons to itself or something like that, like something outrageous where it's like I can squeeze in a couple in that. It's like the reason why there's that much is so it's not being bothered or not being, constricted to a certain area. It still has its freedom without being on your mind like, oh, I'm torturing these animals. I mean, you can't put a killer whale in like, I don't know, a freaking small tank at SeaWorld and be like, oh,
Yeah,
look, check this out. Because eventually it's going to do what it did.
yeah, exactly. I mean, even my yellow tang, you see, he can see with yellow tangs, you can't necessarily keep more than one in the same tank unless you put them all in together. But he can see his own reflection in the glass, so you'll see him often like trying to whack his tail on the glass. Whereas in the ocean, he'd have the freedom to sort of go anywhere. If you understand, he
Yeah.
doesn't have to fight anything in a way. He has a chance to run away. It's things like that that I feel. I don't know.
I'm telling you, you need to go and sign up for something where you can educate people on this matter. At least talk about fish, dude. I mean, it's going to be easy. It's going to be fun. I got super into bird watching for a while. I used to
Okay.
camp. I used to camp all the time, and they had a nature like little thing, like a conservation area. So it was like a giant fenced in back part. And I was thinking, what are there foxes back here? What is it? What do you guys have? It's just nothing but birds. So I just sat there in this giant, like looking through this glass window, just staring at all these different types of birds and learning about them. And I was like, wow, this one has its beak formed like this to be able to eat this certain thing. And it's like, it was just interesting. I think a lot of people out there need to have someone, especially like younger people too, because how many times you go on a tour and it's like, this is the whale and what the
Yeah.
whale does. It's like, can I get some enthusiasm in your voice? I went to the Baltimore Aquarium once and freaking one of the funnest times of my entire life staring at the jellyfish inside the tank. My buddy had one of those the wind up cameras, the ones you have to turn it to
Oh
get
yeah,
the
yeah,
film.
yeah.
And he had one photo left. So we get to this giant, like where the alligators are, or whatever the hell it was. And we're all sitting there taking photos and stuff. And he goes, it's not taking a picture. I got one photo left. It's not taking a picture. So he grabs it, and there's like a fake rock display out front. So he's banging it on the rock display in front of the aquarium, and it takes a picture of him banging the
Wow.
rock. And we look back on his film thing. It was all of us, like a sideways shot. And it was me like astonished, like him, like me trying to laugh because he's banging it on a rock. His face like all grudging, trying to bash on this rock. His buddy's mom that's sitting there screaming at him, and then like there's two other kids that were with us that were just laughing, and it's that photo. And I'm like, this is probably the best photo, way
I
better
was
than
gonna
taking a
say
picture of
it
that
sounds like the
alligator.
best photo in the whole place.
It's those disposable cameras, bro. The kids today will never know the pain of a disposable camera.
No, so easy just to press a button on your phone and that's it.
Yeah. I like the disposable camera though, because like I remember I would get done taking the photos and I'm like, it says disposable. So I throw it away. And my grandma was like, where's your camera? I'm like, I threw it away. It's disposable. She goes, you got to take the film out first, buddy. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
what
don't
is that?
really
So how do we get that back? Get the iCloud, the go up to the cloud and get that.
Yeah, no, I don't really see any places you can sort of take those little rolls to anymore. I
It's
suppose because they've sort of died out.
Yeah, I mean, you can go to Walmart and print it out or something, but there used to be places all for that. I think it's just because where the iPhone's at now. I'm pretty 100% sure the cloud never existed back then, or it did, and we just didn't know about it. But everything's backed up. Everybody's got the phone, and then now people are doing you can take like a quick 10-second video or something, and then you can rewind the video and find the perfect moment and capture a photo from the moment, so you
Yeah.
never miss anything. I'm like, man, where was this stuff when I was a kid? I mean, I'm scrolling through Facebook and the picture moves with the scrolling thing. I'm like, whoa, is that 3D right there? Is that a 3D picture?
Yeah, no, it's just amazing. It really is. I mean,
Eventually,
most this photos on my Instagram are taken from the phone, or I mean, my girlfriend's a massive photographer, so she loves taking photos of anything really.
I was about to say, this is probably a fear for you eventually. It's going to become like virtual tours of people going to these aquariums and stuff and not seeing the actual thing in front of them.
Yeah, well, they sort of started to do it with the whole COVID-19 thing. They were doing little video tours in the zoos and aquariums, weren't they?
I,
I don't know
I
if you saw any.
I haven't seen any, but I know that's a huge thing. I saw my school did a virtual reality field trip to the Anne Frank Museum. I think that's cool if you're
Ah,
not going to
yeah,
go, but if you have the ability to go, you're supposed to wake up at 2 o'clock, or you're supposed to wake up at like 5 in the morning, go down to the bus or whatever an hour early before school starts. Everybody's sitting there like counting the kids out, making sure they're all going up on the field trip, and then you take this long ass drive again with people that you don't want to be with, all the way up to a field trip at like a museum or something. That was the best part about a field trip. And now you can do that in your class, just doesn't seem like fun.
have you got any sort of VR things? Like for example, I've got the, do you know, Oculus?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got the Oculus Rift.
I
And
do
yeah, I
not
know I
have
know about
any
the Anne Frank
VR.
thing. No.
I'm against it 100%. I tried it once at my buddy's house and he basically hit me in the nuts when I had the Oculus on. So I was like, I'm not doing this at all. This is dulling my senses.
You're honestly, once you've started it, I mean, I'm obsessed with it. My girlfriend as well. There's so many things in there. Like, you can go freaking out in space. There's so many horror games. They're so funny. Like, if you're playing the
Eventually
horror games,
it's just gonna cause people to not want to go into reality anymore.
yeah, basically, yeah, I can easily play it for like 6-8 hours straight. It does tend to hurt your eyes after a while, so they definitely need to sort of improve the graphics and things like that. But it's so easy to just get wound up in it and forget about life.
I just picture you sitting at your freaking uh, whatever dinner table eating breakfast, and you're just like you're playing Jaws in virtual reality. The next thing you know, you're staring up at your cereal or something, and you see a giant shark come at you. Just freak out and throw your cereal
Yeah,
bowl.
flashbacks. Yeah, I know that the horror games are so funny, especially Friends. It's like you do what you said. Your friend they're playing the horror game, and then you're just sort of like freaking pinch them or slap them or punch them, and it just scares the shit out of them. It's so funny.
Just move all the furniture around so he's confined to like a small space. Like I always wondered, like how do people like move around in the game and then also like not try and move around in person? Like
Oh
imagine
yes,
walking around your whole house, you end up falling down a flight of stairs or something, ripping your Xbox or whatever out of the wall.
yeah. I mean, if in the actual game, it's got like a set. You build a sensory boundary around you with the controls, but you can turn those off. Even after playing it for like 2 years, I think I've had it for. I still lose my orientation so much. Like I know this is the way I need to face, but somehow when I take it off, I'm ended up facing over there or something like
What's one of the worst virtual reality games you think could ever be made? I would picture Jaws. I feel like that would just freak the hell out of too many people.
that. Yeah, I think Jaws are pretty scary. Well, would you be the shark or would you be the person?
In the video game, I was the shark, but I feel like it would be even funner or scarier in virtual reality if you were the person.
They have actually got one like that. You go cage diving with like a great white, but obviously shit happens. A cage goes and yeah, shaking your
No,
head.
no, I'm good. I'm good.
That'll
If
be the
I'm gonna
point where
do,
you take the thing off.
I will bring up an old debate. Wrapping it up here, I'll bring up an old debate about what my dad and my uncle said when I was 12 years old and I was camping. And I had my uncle on the podcast to talk about it. My uncle said that the worst way to go would be by a grizzly bear. And my dad was like, "You're fucking insane. It's by a shark." So there was this
Okay.
giant debate, which is worse to die from. And I was probably like 12 years old. So I'm listening to these two drunk idiots talk about which way is the worst to go. And my dad just stands up and goes, when you turn 60, I'm going to drag your old ass with a thing of T-bones wrapped around your neck and toss you in the middle of the toss you in the middle of the ocean. And then my uncle was like, that's fine. I'll take it. I'm going to drag you to Yellowstone with T-bones around your neck and have a grizzly bear attack you. And he goes, and it's like, it's a deal. So I think they got about like 5 years left until that deal comes. And then I'm going to come and collect. I'm like, all right, we had this shark and bear debate, and they always talk about it still when they see each other. It goes, this guy thinks, it's safer to die by a bear than a shark. And I'm like, hold on a second. What's the arguments here? Like a shark, you can't see it. It kills you. It's underwater. And a bear, the worst thing, I mean, it mauls you to death, but can you stick your head in its mouth real quick and just have it bite down on you and kill you fast?
Yeah, I mean, bears, you've got the teeth, you've got the claws as well, obviously, and obviously you can't really run away from it. Sharks, the same principle. You can't see it. Even if it bites you and runs away, you still got to swim with this freaking half your leg missing to wherever you got to go. So yeah, I understand. Just pull up to the
Show,
house.
show me the way to go home.
Yeah,
I love
just
that
pull up
movie.
to the house with a car full of T-bones and say, "Time's up."
Time's up. Get the legs. See, I'd rather die by like a hot pocket. You don't heat it all the way and then you bite into it and it's like you just choke on it. I'd rather die by that than a bear. Are you kidding me? That's a more manly way to go out. He died by a hot
Wow,
pocket.
that's a very interesting way to die.
Well, Jason, I appreciate you coming out and doing the podcast, brother, man. I want to give you
That's
here a
all right.
minute at the end to be able to promote your Instagram page, promote any links you want to promote.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Appreciate if you subscribe to follow my Instagram account, JD_reef. Always trying to update photos of the reef, even if pictures I find, coral reef diving photos. Yeah, appreciate it.
Do you have any farmers only or anything else that you want to?
No, that's literally it. It was
Jewish
just a thing I started with this COVID-19 thing. So
JewishPeopleMeet.com.
nah,
No.
I'm not. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll shout out my Pinterest if anybody wants to find me on that Pinterest.
Okay.
I like to make luxury fish tanks with fresh kelp inside.
Nice.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Out of the Blank podcast, and stay tuned for our next episode.